Good afternoon. This is Mike Cavanagh. I'm president and owner of KeyCode Media. Thanks for attending our Good, the Bad, and the Ugly Pro Tools 10. Today we're going to have Nick Meade, one of our audio specialists on our team, go through, as a skeptic would, I just bought 9, why should I get 10? He's going to go through all the cool things about it and all the things to watch out for. We're really excited about this, and we will continue to do more learning series for our clients. The key thing about KeyCode Media, we've been a Pro Tools reseller since 2002. We have multiple certified online professionals, and we'd love to work with you guys. We stand behind both our service and our products that we sell, and we have offices up and down the West Coast. So I'd like to hand this over to Nick Meade, and you can hear the good, the bad, and the ugly of Pro Tools 10. Thank you.
Well, hello, guys. As stated earlier, my name is Nick Meade. I'm the audio specialist for KeyCode Media. We're going to cover I'm not going to go into deep details. We're going to cover all the new stuff, the fun stuff that's in Pro Tools 10. Think about myself. I work for KeyCode Media. I don't work for Avid. I specialize primarily in Pro Tools. For the company, we do lots of Pro Tools installs, system design, integration. We do a lot of video, networking, and storage, all the things along that line in post-production. So today I want to focus more on just the new features, like I said, the good and the bad and the ugly, kind of like the theme for the whole, we're doing a Media Composer 6 presentation tomorrow as well. So we're just going to be kind of, unadulterated. We're gonna have fun at this. We're going to talk about the positives, the negatives, the things we love, things we don't like. The good news of Pro Tools 10, though, so far, I've already cut a 10-minute project on it, a paid gig outside of what I do here at KeyCode, and I didn't have a single crash, which is that's good news right there. After reading through reading through the forums like the DUC and Gearslets and such, most of the feedback so far was just, you have your obvious haters, but there wasn't a lot of just like, half the posts were on one subject where everything's crashing in that one genre of errors. You know what I'm saying? There's not a whole lot of that. So for the most part, this is a great release, and I'm excited to talk about it. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I have, if you've been paying attention at all online with Pro Tools, the other resellers out there, a list provided by Avid with the new features. We're going to work our way through that list, spend 20, 30 minutes talking about that stuff, and have some time for questions. One thing also, I'm not working in Pro Tools because I have to work with Pro Tools. I love working in Pro Tools. I've worked with Nuendo and Ableton Live, Logic. I come from an old school background. In 2000, I was playing with, I remember Cakewalk. I got the very first copy of Sonar when they came out, just for the gig I was working on at the time. Pro Tools is just faster for me as far as editing and getting stuff done. So that's why I use Pro Tools. I like the program. I'm a geek about it, a nerd. I actually have a lot of fun using it. If I could have it in my stocking, I'd have it in my stocking for Christmas. So it's a good time for me. So what we're going to do, we're just going to work our way down this list. And the first thing we're going to talk about is clip gain. And I have just a couple. I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. So for the first example, I have some sound effects here. And the first one here, we got like a whip sound, look good. And then for the second, we've got just a gunshot. A Desert Eagle. It's anybody knows a Desert Eagle. It's a huge gun, but this one's kind of, it's kind of dull. The highs are rolled off. So I just real quickly, I found that, and I also found this whip. And I thought this might be a good pairing. So I'm in a hurry. I'm cutting for somebody like NBC or Universal. The project was due yesterday. You got to get this done. It is. We're always in a hurry. We're always behind time. We're always above budget. So, okay, cool. I know I forgot to reset this from the last presentation. There we go. Here we go. So yeah, obviously we need to balance out the volume of these two files. The way we've been doing it for what, a decade, 2 decades, is if you do option hyphen or option underscore, pull up our volume automation. We make our adjustments, do what we need to do to get this lined up, and it takes time to do that. It's just how it is. I'm using myself the Kensington expert trackball, and I got all my shortcuts programs, so I can move pretty quick. And for background, I mean, this 10-minute project I cut a couple weeks ago, I didn't use clip gain. I didn't think much of it. I thought, okay, cool, that's a great feature, whatever. If I need to change the gain structures, it's too quiet or too loud, I've got it, whatever. So I didn't use it to its full potential until I started preparing for this presentation and realized, everyone's talking about how cool clip gain is. Let me figure out why. It's really fast and quick. I just grab that guy right there. Oops, lost control of the mouse for a second. Just click over the little icon right there, drag down. That quick. Oh, that's not good enough here. Let's bring that up a little bit. Quick, easy. Let's hear some more snap. That quick. I don't have to go like this, hit a key cut, a shortcut, bring it down. Literally just click, drag. Very awesome. If you need more of these, let's say, okay, cool, let's zoom in right here. I like the way this sounds right here. I got this where I want it. I want this back part of the ladder, you just make a region cut right there. And then you have control, separate control of this guy right here, with a little crossfade in there for volume. Whatever, not something you obviously do in real life, but if you need more control, you just slice and dice, you get more control. Easy, simple to do. Another thing you can do, you've got this control right here. You can go into View, Clip, and then Clip Gain Line. By selecting that, you get your, if you want to drag lines, there's your line. It just gives you another spot to grab it. I can grab it here. I can grab it here. Myself, I like keeping it clean, my interface clean. Too many lines going at the same time, so I just like having it off. You can also go into View, Clip Gain Info. You can get rid of that. So you can do either or if you wanted to. I like the lower left hand myself. And then once you've got this, let's say, okay, I'm done. This is what I want. I kind of want that tinny sound on purpose. You can render this out for export by going to Clip Gain, and then render Clip Gain, and then you're back to 0. And I can start readjusting again. So that's just a quick rundown of clip gain. Like I said, I didn't use it at first, but I absolutely love it. Actually, I have another example. This one's a little more real world. I'm one of those weird guys that likes to cut backgrounds. This is the same sailboat but two different perspectives. We got just by looking at it, these aren't going to match up. Let's say, let's say I'm cutting perspectives. I want to get close. I'm in a hurry. I can just quickly, just by viewing, just by looking, these sound, they sound the same right out the door. Without even having to listen to them, I can just quickly drag the gain, get them so they look almost the same, and we're good to go. Very, very useful. Another, when I switched from Pro Tools 9 to Pro Tools 10 for the project I was on, I had already cut my dialogue. Dialogue would have been a lot faster for getting all my cuts, getting volume graphs ready to go for my first pass of mixing and pre-dubs and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, mix gain, I absolutely love it. Highly recommend it. Everyone should play with it and utilize it. Another one of the big features that's been talked about quite a bit with Pro Tools 10 is the 32-bit floating. Just to be clear, we're talking about processing, audio processing. We're not talking about 16-bit, 24-bit as far as volume, I guess you would say. But we're talking about the internal processing of the computer, 32-bit floating processing. And why is that a big deal? If you're just an editor, if you're just editing all the time, it's not going to mean a lot to you. You can work with 24-bit, that's fine. 16-bit, whatever you're doing. It's on the mixing side. You got people that have been loving the like your Neves, your Harrisons, using those because they do sound better. They sound better to me than a Pro Tools system. The biggest reason for that, I think, is the 32-bit floating that they are capable of using and utilizing. as you bring, like, especially for in music, you know, fewer tracks, you're going to hear more top end with 32-bit. With mixing, on a, let's say you're doing a film, you got 5 or 6 Pro Tools machines for your pre-dubbing, they're all coming into this console. Taking all that data and mixing it together, combining it, you've got more top end with 32-bit floating. You're going to hear higher highs, kind of what's the word I'm looking for? It's going to be a little more airy. There's words I'm looking for, but they're escaping me right now. It's going to prevent clipping. Like, say you take two, let's say you take two sine waves and you combine them together. If they were clipping in 24-bit, there's a chance of 32-bit floating that they would not be clipping because you have more headroom. So that's the cool thing about 32-bit. You can get in right here. If you go in your session setup, by hitting Command 2 on your numeric keypad, or if you go into setup session, your session setup window right here, and you can change from 24-bit to 32-bit floating right in here. Very easy to do. And another great, it's something else that puts Pro Tools, up against, for your large format mixing, puts up against the needs and boards of that caliber. Another great feature. For us film guys, something we've been dealing with for a long time is if you got let's say you're doing 6 reels of a film. Each reel represents a different Pro Tools session. The sessions are moving around between editor and editor assistant. They're going from the mix stage to the editing facility and going back and forth and over again. Keeping track of all the files and keeping everything linked has always been fun. And usually, like you open a Pro Tools session that says missing files, missing 10,000 page files. You can choose to either regenerate those page files, or you can try to relink them. I always chose just regenerate. Fade files are gone. It's built into the audio file at this point within Pro Tools. That part's gone. If you look in here, this is actually the session files for what we're looking at right here, and you'll see that there is no fade file folder. So if I was to do a save session copy, export all this raw data out, I would have just a folder. And within that folder would be an audio file folder and the Pro Tools session file, and that's it. Very nice, very clean. What's also cool about that too is if you're sharing attached storage such as an Avid environment, such as a ISIS server or a Unity server. Unity servers had a max file count of 500,000 files. ISIS has an upgraded capacity up to 3 million files. So if you got, say you got 30 editors, 30 video editors, and 5, let's say 4 or 5 Pro Tools editors. Those 4 or 5 Pro Tools editors would use a lot more files than, just in the sheer number of the files themselves, than the video guys, just because of the fade files alone. This fixes that issue, which is great for, network attached storage, which we'll be talking about next. Okay. Network attached storage in Pro Tools. Disk caching, all that kind of thing. I'm sure you guys have heard about the new ability for Pro Tools to load its session completely into RAM, which is a great new feature. It speeds up the session. Things process faster. It's just having that alone is great. The other reason for having that is it allows Pro Tools to buffer and use network attached storage. You can have all your sessions on a Pro Tools. You can have all your Pro Tools sessions on an external server. Where before we had to use external hard drives on a sneaker net. Walking your drives around, all that kind of good stuff. You can now use a dedicated server, which is great. You can use almost any server. There's nothing outlined so far in the Pro Tools manuals about what server you have to use. You're obviously limited by the size of the server and the speed of the server. How many drives you have out past, or the drive spinning. What's the size of the drives? But we can use servers now. No more pushing or pulling. No more. You don't have to use something dedicated like a FiberJet setup. You can use a dedicated server, which is great. One thing I didn't do, and this was on purpose, is I didn't talk about the system that I'm using. Something that's very cool about pushing RAM and the new disk engine capabilities is that you get a lot more performance. Let me show you my entire session I have here. Okay, So I have a fairly large session. This is actually a sound effects session from the movie Skyline, which came out in 2010, which I got to be a part of, which is a lot of fun. This is mostly your explosions, your jets, all that. Oop, little error right there. Hold on real quick. There we go. So plenty of data. And this is actually the first time I've seen this one. Good to know, as I'm getting an error message during a Pro Tools 10 webinar. Awesome. Okay. So this is a very large session. I forget the track count on this. That's one thing that's I'm running all native right now. Just so you guys know, the reason I didn't talk about the session and the computer I'm using, because it's super fast. It's much more efficient in using the available resources. Large session here, plenty of sound effects, plenty of files. I don't have any plugins, really any plugins going on. But if I go into setup, window system usage, I'm using 11% of the CPU. And I'm worried about getting that error message again. Yeah, there we go. Oh, I know I'm doing that. Hold on real quick, folks. So to show you this right here, I wanted to do a little cleanup, and I moved a bunch of files around. So that's my fault. That's why we're getting that message. So anyway, we won't be doing any more playback on this session. But I can play the session back. I maintain my 10%, 11% CPU processing. Disk clip, around 1% each of these guys right here. I'm hardly using any processing power with this large session. This is all on a 17-inch iMac, and I'm only running 4 gigs of RAM. I'm using the very minimal amount of RAM just to prove a point. I use it for testing. How far can I go? I actually have the external chassis that you can use with the HDMI card, and I decided not to use that for this just because I want to see how far I can push with the laptop. The project that I've been talking about, I literally did all on the laptop. I didn't use a Digi interface or an Avid interface, I should say. I used a Roland Octapre, Octacapture, just to see what I could do, and everything ran beautifully. The Octacapture takes channels in and out, and it's all USB based. So, the performance Pro Tools 10 is much more stable, except for this guy right here. And that's just so you guys know what I did is I cleaned up some files. I moved them around to make it pretty for the webinar, and they obviously moved some files that were needed for the session. That's what that error is. So that's not a Pro Tools issue. That's a silly webinar host error, and I don't want to shut down because I'm a purist. I'm running everything through a processing, including my vocal that you're listening to right now. So anyway, we will keep moving forward. So that to say, the new disk handling, the way Pro Tools uses memory, the way you work with network storage, all works together for a more cohesive environment. It's much more efficient and can handle much more processing. It's a really great thing. Moving on, let's try something like this guy right here. Let's move on to the Euphonix channel strip. This thing really does sound good. This is where we're going to talk about good, the bad, the ugly, kind of a situation. The good, this is a great plugin. It really does sound good. The problem is the bad. When I think channel strip, I think all-inclusive. I want to go to that channel strip. I don't want to go anywhere else. If I go into the EQ, one of the issues I have is with there's no low pass or high pass, which is a big bummer. For example, with just what I'm doing for this webinar, I've got this channel going right here. I've got just a high pass going. I'm rolling off all the junk I don't want people to hear. And yes, I'm running some noise reduction. That being said, I don't get that option with this plugin. I have to go to a shelf and start playing with EQ, with Q and stuff like that. It doesn't give me the control I wish I really had to get the job done. So that's a big bummer. That being said, you could always just do what I did. You have a single channel, just something, for high pass if you need it. But if it had that, would be great. That's the only thing I feel that's missing. But besides that, this Euphonix channel strip it sounds really good. A lot of people are talking about it. Definitely try it out in your mixes. It does sound good. Okay. One of the other features I want to talk about is if we let's go to the beginning of the session. If we look at these regions right here. Not a huge deal, but if you go to clip view, then clip. I love they got clip here and clip there. Clip, you can turn on some new features for doing timestamping on your regions. For example, this is the current time. So if I want to, like, let's say I need this clip right at hour 1, so I'll cut that. Move it to hour 1. Paste it. It'll say hour 1 and it ends at hour 1, 13 frames. Let's say, oh shoot, I moved it 7 frames too far forward, so I can literally just go 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope, I'm moving it in big chunks, but which is good. I can see that, as I'm looking, as I'm nudging, I can see what's going on. I move this, 1 frame, 2 frames, 3 frames, 4 frames. Great little feature, good to know about. It's also handy if you want to view, clip, original timestamp. So if I'm on set, I'm recording, I'm getting my dailies ready, you've got access to the original timestamp for when things were recorded. There's a couple other options, user timestamp. Then of course, no timestamp at all. Another cool feature, I found this useful when I was, if I'm doing lots of 5.1 stems, you can say display on all channels. So that's kind of nice. I can see the file name and whatever time information I decide to show. The clip, current time, shows it on both channels. So that's kind of a cool feature. Okay. The next thing I'm going to talk about. I'm sure you guys all remember that Pro Tools 7, prior to Pro Tools 8, the N key. Remember this guy right here? If I hit play, it's wherever I stop, the tape head stops right there. There was no notification, that was enabled prior to Pro Tools 8. And then they put this button right here, this notification that's on. It's good to know. They did something similar. This is automation follows region. If I make a change, the automation right here, let's just pop out of here, and then I move the region. The automation obviously is going to follow. If I turn that off and move the region, my automation stayed behind. When I first installed Pro Tools 10, I actually had a list of issues that I was keeping track of. The first one on there was this. I was trying to cut some backgrounds. I was having a hard time pasting my volume information, my volume graphing, all that kind of good stuff. And I didn't realize what was happening. It was that I think by default, when you fire Pro Tools 10, this is not enabled. So be aware of that. Turn it on. I know there is a time and place for that. For the most part, though, I'm not using that. So be aware of that new feature. A couple new cool little features too. If you go into, actually let's do it this way. If I export, want to export a file, export clips as files. New feature, share with SoundCloud. Great for getting a temporary mix, or if you're done with the mix, posting it straight to SoundCloud. Just another shortcut, another quick way of getting things done. Saving you a step. I tested it all out. It's working. I won't show you here just for time's sake. But it works. It's fairly seamless once you get it all set up. You get to put all your information, obviously, in the Pro Tools. But once it's working, and it's great. It's quick, seamless, and another great feature. You also have the iTunes option as well. So a couple cool new little features to try out. Something for you large format mixer guys out there. I never ran this issue. If you go into Setup, Peripherals, and you go under Satellites, just because of the way I have this set up, I didn't want to rely on any Pro Tools hardware. If I was running an HD native, you would see the option in here for satellite machines. For you that do not know, satellite is a way to connect multiple Pro Tools machines and even an external media composer for video playback through a network connection, and playback's almost instantaneous when you hit it. Before you were limited to 5 machines, so you could literally do 4 Pro Tools machines. Let's say you had a playback 1, 2, and 3, your recorder, dubber, and then the 5th was a video playback, a video satellite LE, or a media composer machine. Whatever you want to do, they could all be playing together. You can have up to 5 machines. That never really worked for your your larger stages where they're using anywhere between 5 and 10 machines. They expanded on this. You can go up to 12 video satellite machines now with Pro Tools 10. And even then, I know I think that's Technicolor. They're needing 13. So missed it by one, but much closer than from 5 to 13 than 12 to 13. So great addition there. Something I want to make mention too. I recently did a demo with some Media Composer folks, and I was trying to get the. This falls under the bad. At the same time, Pro Tools 10 was released. Media Composer 6 was just released. It's a full 64-bit release of Media Composer. For you out there who are using Pro Tools and have a Chase machine with Media Composer for your video playback, do not upgrade to Media Composer 6 just yet for your playback machine, just because the video satellite feature at this point is not working. That is a release coming out. It may, just keep an eye on that. Be aware of that, and talk to your Avid support. Give us a call over here at Kiko. We can help you out with that. Keep you up to speed on the release. One thing, the next thing I want to talk about is upgrades and pricing. There's been lots of, if there was one topic that was hot on the forums, I would say pricing's it. 1 second, guys. A little hot tea right there. Keep me going. It's not so much the pricing of the hardware; it's the pricing of Pro Tools itself. Let's say you have a HD2 Excel system running Pro Tools 8. Your upgrade price is $1,500. One thing I didn't put on here was the software upgrades. I just covered the hardware upgrades. If you have Pro Tools 9, your upgrade price is $1,000. If you have Pro Tools 8, your upgrade price is $1,500. And if you have Pro Tools 7, your upgrade price is $2,500. Those are very steep prices compared to what we've been doing. $349 for years for Pro Tools HD. If you're an LE, it was $149. So very sharp price increases. One of the things we have going for people with Pro Tools 9 is that you can sign up for the Pro Tools support plan from Avid. This has actually been out for years, just no one's ever used it. I don't know anybody that's ever subscribed to it. It's $5.99 per machine. If you have Pro Tools 9, it gets you a free upgrade of Pro Tools 10 and a full year of phone support with Avid. So be aware of that. That's a limited time offer. That's going to be ending December 31st, 2011. So if you have Pro Tools 9, you're thinking about going to 10, get that. Go get that. Spend the $5.99, get it now before it's too late. It does take about 10 days to instantiate it once you get it going. Just as long as you make the purchase before December 31st, it'll be good to go. Now, one thing we haven't talked a lot about yet is the HDX cards coming out. Very excited about that. I've heard nothing but good things out there from the people that got the advanced releases of the HDX cards. HDX card, I've heard two differing talks on the horsepower. I hear it's comparable to a single HDX is similar to an HD3, but I'm also hearing it's 5 times as powerful as an HD1. So is it an HD5 or an HD3? Is it 5 times as powerful, 3 times as powerful? I've been sticking with an HD3, comparing it to an HD3. So let's just take it to the beginning. You want to start a new facility or get a new edit room going. A brand new HDX card with a single HDIO 8x8x8, $10,999. If you want to do an HDX with 2 cards, you have to first buy the HDX with an HDIO. You cannot buy the HDX cards by themselves unless you have an existing system registered with that. The additional card would be an additional $7,000. So the total cost would be around $18,000, and these are MSRP prices. Now let's say, okay, time to upgrade. I have an HD1 Excel system with the Blue Series HDI, the 192, 96 IO, the mic crate. Any one of those and an HD1 card, to an HDIO 8x8x8 with an HDX card is $8,999. So you save $2,000 right there by trading those in. If you have an HD3 and trade it in, you get it for $7,000. So you're saving around $4,000. This is where it gets a little confusing. I tried to spell it out the best that I could just so you have something to read. A lot of people out there have HD6s. They want to replace their HD6 with HDX card. What you first do is do the fourth option right here. You trade in an HD3 and get your single HDX card in your HDIO. After that point, you'll have 3 additional Excel cards. And let's just read this. For customers with more than 3 Excel cards, a credit of $800 can be subtracted from the purchase price of an additional HGX card with the trade-in of its cards. So you can take 2 of the 3 remaining cards, right, and trade those in for a $1,600 total discount, $800 each. So this, you need to get an HGX card. Here's that card, $7,000. Take $1,600 off of that. That's how you get your HGX card. And yes, you do have an additional Excel card that you can't do anything with it except for put that on eBay or apply that to a smaller system you may have. That's Avid's policy on this so far. If there's any new updates on that, we'll make sure to post that and let you guys know. But that's where we're at right now. And I believe this isn't even posted yet as far as the additional trade-ins for an HE6. This is coming straight from our West Coast rep from Avid. Another big deal too with this new HDX release is AAX plugins. Lots of questions on that. What's going to be happening with AAX? What's happening with TDM and RTAS? At this point, TDM and RTAS are on their way out. Everything will be going to AAX. AAX will be covering both processing on the card and also processing on your host computer. With Pro Tools 10, let's say you do an HDX upgrade to, you trade in your HD3, get a single HDX card, and let's take a company like Waves. For example, Waves does not announce anything yet with, upgrades to AAX. You can use all your AAX plugins, but also use the RTAS plugins from Pro Tools 10. Once a release of Pro Tools 11 comes out, I believe that's all being phased out. There will be no RTAS or TDM support with Pro Tools 11 at this point. Also, be aware, and I applaud Avid for this in some ways, that they're letting us know that Pro Tools 11 will not support the older Excel cards and blue interfaces. Now, what they're saying right there, this was clear up, we had a meeting with Avid yesterday, that they're not discontinuing. They're just not going to support. They're not going to test. Pro Tools 11 may work, but they're not going to support it. So be aware of that. We have plenty of time at this point to start looking at upgrades and moving forward. One thing they did cover too in the meeting yesterday was that January of 2012, Excel and the blue interfaces are 10 years old. We've had a good 10-year run of this hardware. 64-bit wasn't even a thought back in 2002 or 2001, 2000 when they started making the initial design of this older hardware. But now this next version of Pro Tools will be fully and truly 64-bit. So be aware of that. Start looking at your upgrades. If you want Pro Tools 10 now, grab that $600 service plan while you can. Save some money. Start saving up, preparing for the Pro Tools 11 transition. Just be aware of all that stuff. We have plenty of time to do something like that. So. Oh, you know what? There's one more thing I want to cover just real quick, and this will be our last thing. AudioSuite. A couple cool things with AudioSuite. Let's just do a quick little something fun. Let's change that out to, let's do a 7-man EQ. Okay, I want to make this, let's do this. Something a little more obvious. Okay, we're going to take this guy right here, select it. We're going to make this sound very telephone, just so it's very obvious, what we're doing here. Bring that in, and then grab that bad boy, and let's blow it up a little bit. Oops. Obviously processed, right? A couple of cool things of AudioSuite now. Multiple windows of AudioSuite. Make sure you select, turn this guy off right here, just like you would your normal plugins if you want multiple plugins open in a single window. Let's put some dynamics on there. Let's put a 4030 retro comp mono. Yeah. There we go. We can have multiple AudioSuite. This is super useful for me if I'm doing dialogue. I can have I can EQ or reverb and also have my noise reduction up at the same time as I go through and process. It's a great feature. This guy right here, and I'm sure I don't know if you guys have heard this, I'm sure some of you have, that's handles. So now when we process AudioSuite, before you had a file, whatever was selected, whatever was highlighted, that was your file. Now we're given handles. And this is seconds. So if I process right now, I will give, I'll lose a lot of this file, but I will be given 2 seconds worth of handles. And we click render. Obviously been processed. Here's the bad. I haven't figured out how to get this to work completely yet. Because when I pull out the handles, There's nothing there. If you go to page, I believe it's page 875 in the manual, they have very strict situations for using handles with AudioSuite. I believe at this point we're meeting all those, so I'm curious to why we're not getting handles yet. You can extend this all the way up to 60 seconds, so you can have up to a minute worth of handles. And if I render that, and I'll just close this at this point. Yeah, there we go. I got plenty of handle there, but there's just, I don't know what's going on with that. So be aware of that. I'm sure Digi's working on it, or Avid. I was gonna keep saying Digi. So anyway, this covers some of the cool new features in Pro Tools. A lot of good stuff. Like I said, the last project I worked on about 10 minutes, 100 or so files, 3 reverb boxes, a full stem recorder, full deliverables, and stereo LTRT, and 5.1. I didn't have a single crash. No issues whatsoever. It was a great experience. The best experience I've ever had with a new release of a piece of software. So my recommendation is for Pro Tools 10. If you're looking to upgrade, I recommend it, especially if you can get the better, cheaper pricing. With that, I'm going to conclude my part of the webinar and hand this back to Matt for Q&A. Thanks for attending, guys.
All right, thank you very much, Nick Meade. That was very informative. Let me switch over to our Q&A section real quick. Okay, great. So the first question I have for you, Nick, is from Andy. And again, by the way, if you have any more questions, please submit them now, and we'll probably be able to get through all of them. From Andy, we have, are you on a native system or TDM or HDX? I think you might have answered that earlier.
Yeah, the system I'm on right here is completely native without a native card, which means that if I was to use a native card with this, I'd even get more performance. You get a lot more. You get more scheduling with native cards, so I would even have increased performance. I have the complete production toolkit, so I have all the features of HD within this session right here. So I'm literally, doing a lot of really cool things within this little tiny 17-inch laptop.
Another question from Andy is, why would you not always be in 32-bit float?
That's a good question. I agree with you on that. 32-bit float, why not be there? There's, if let's say I have a bunch of editors working in Pro Tools 7 or Pro Tools 8, Pro Tools 9, I have to do a save session copy. And one thing I will be losing is 32-bit float. So that's when you got to think backwards. Pro Tools 10 is a new release. Not everybody has it. So if you're doing, if you're going to be moving back down, so my rule would be, if I have editors, work in 24-bit float, and then when you're mixing, 24-bit, not 24-bit float, then keep 32-bit for your mix stage. That just keeps it easy as you're moving files back and forth. Just in case something was to go wrong in the conversion as you do a save session copy from Pro Tools 10 to Pro Tools 9 and 32-bit floating to 24-bit. Just keep things simple and elegant.
Okay, great. The next question is from Greg. What do the multi-channel surround matrix outputs look like?
Multi-channel surround matrix. As far as, let's see here, let's get a channel.
Switch back to your screen.
Okay, switching back to my screen. Okay. Nothing, if you're talking about this guy right here, talking about your, nothing's really changed in this area. Pro Tools 8 to Pro Tools 9 wasn't a lot of, the biggest change was from 7 to 8. 8, 9, and 10, very similar in look and feel. Not a lot's changed. If I start opening up Windows, a lot of this stuff is the same. It hasn't changed. So if I'm understanding your question correctly, yeah, there isn't a lot of change in that area, which is good, with Pro Tools being what it is. Such a standard.
Great. Another question we have from multiple people is how does Pro Tools 10 run on Lion versus Snow Leopard?
It runs great on both at this point. I literally just installed three machines. Because of the way they're using their sound effects database, they had to be on 10.6.8. No issues with that. I'm running 10.7.2. As proof, let me just bring this up right here. I'm running 10.7.2 with only 4 gigs of RAM, and that's how I ran my entire that 10-minute video I was talking about. No issues with that. The one thing to be aware of, and I talked about this a little bit in the last session, is you lose a couple shortcuts to Lion. You used to be able to select tracks and do stuff. This used to change one track. Oh, sorry, I didn't realize I lost screen control. So your 3-finger, if you do Control Option Command on the Mac, up down arrow, that fills in the screen. If I wanted to, I could still bring them all down. But if I wanted to just change the level of these 2 tracks, I would hold down Control up and down arrow keys. I lost that. We lost that to Lion. You can disable that. Just be aware of it. So a couple little shortcut losses. That's the biggest thing of Lion that's kind of frustrating.
We have another question. Does Dolby Surround Tools encoder and decoder work with Pro Tools 10?
Yes. Already tested it. And if you go to Avid's website, they have a full list of plugins. Their biggest spiel is that if it works on 9, it's going to work in 10. And I've actually just tested that. It does work on 10.
Okay, is there any more questions? This is from Ryan. What's the advantage of HD over just 10?
Pro Tools 10 HD versus
I think
Pro
it's
Tools.
requiring HD native.
I myself, if I'm looking at Excel cards, not HDX cards, but Excel cards, I prefer having HD native. The first test I did of HD native, I had to install 2 HD native machines and then a HD3. Made a 128 track session, put 5 plugins on each session. It ran just fine on HD native. This was on a 2.2 gigahertz dual quad core Mac, the last version of the Halem, the 4.1s. Took that same session to the HD3, and I lost half my tracks and 2/3 of my plugins just because of voice count. Pro Tools 10, you do get more voices. That's a great thing. HDX, if I had to choose between, if budget wasn't a concern, I would probably pick, an HDX2 or an HDX3 over a native, just because, there's more tracks that I'm ever going to use. I don't have to worry about processing on the, the virtual instruments or, like for example, my symphonic libraries and stuff like that. But still, for everything I'm doing at home, when I do music and a lot of film, HD is going to do everything I need to do.
Okay, great. We have one more question from Greg. Does the autosave function in Lion apply to Pro Tools, or can I still use save as?
That's a good question. I have not tried that yet. I'm big on doing lots of saves, version saves. Hold on real quick. I'm getting my screen back. There we go. Since this is the last question. I won't test that because I will lose my mic. I was going to test it right here in front of you guys, but because the way I have this set up, I can't do that because I have my mic right here. That's something I would test. I've never had that issue. Like I said, I don't have the same issues with crashing. I've only had, with all the testing I've done, I was able to break it once, and that was something I was doing deliberately. So, yeah, I have not tried that, but I don't see why it would not work. And actually, you know what? I did that on accident once, and it did fire right back up, but it did not load my session. So.
We have one more question from Andy. He said, you mentioned getting better performance just having the HD native card installed. What processing occurs on the card? I thought it was just a DigiLink port from the computer to actually attach to your phone.
Oh, yeah, that is exactly what it is. But you're also you're going through a PCIe slot instead of a USB slot. Does that make sense? I don't have to go. It's a better stake in the ground, if you want to call it that. It's much more robust, plumbing. than a USB or a FireWire. So you do get some performance boosts. And the first thing you get is better, not delay compensation, but you go from 1.4 milliseconds to, I think you go up to 8 milliseconds with FireWire, then 70-something milliseconds with USB as far as delay time. So yeah, going with the PCIe option, you just get a little more, a little more pipe, if that makes sense, and a little more performance, and a little more speed.
All right, a question from Ryan. Is a new disk caching available on Pro Tools 10 or on HD Native?
Oh, Pro Tools 10. Think about that. Yeah, that's Pro Tools 10. So even if you have an HD Native, you start to witness that things sound a little more open with HD Native. That even gets increased a little more with 32-bit processing and also the better disk caching in 10.
All right, great. Thank you so much, Nick, for the webinar today. It was very informative. I hope everyone got their questions answered.